Hey, welcome back to Rust Hoarder Garage and the 1961 Rambler Rockbox station wagon build. Cool car. Speaking of cool cars, I'm just looking at that 61 Studebaker Hawk that I bought the other day. Factory 4-speed car. Man. What do you think? Turbo LS in that? And a 6-speed? Could be. Man, what a cool body style. That is an example of why you do not take your car apart until you're ready to build it and just leave it in pieces for decades and don't touch it, because somebody like me comes along and is glad to buy it, and I will build that car and I'll have it on the road. No problem. We will hot rod that car and I will not paint it. I will leave it just as it is and I will enjoy the hell out of that thing. Yep, I will. So don't let your projects sit and rot just because they're not perfect. Get them running and drive them. They're just, it's so much fun to drive this stuff. It's insane. Why else would I do this? Come on. Got to figure it out. Anyway, the first thing I'll say we're going to do here in this video is, well, what should I say the first thing? Hopefully by the, I'll put it like this. Hopefully by the end of this video, we'll know if this engine's going to run or not. Because I made a wiring harness out of a 95 LT1 harness. I repinned it for the LS1 computer. I added in the wiring for the crank sensor, and that's it. It's a rough harness. It's not the finished product, but it's enough, I think, to put on the engine and make it run. But we got some stuff to do before that, just to button up some things so we can actually start the car, or rather start the engine, because we're not going to be starting it from the key. First thing, LT1s used an EGR setup that had a corrugated metal tube that was bolted to the back of the passenger side exhaust manifold, and it ran up to the back of the intake manifold. We're going to get rid of that. I already cut the tube off, and it used to connect here on the manifold. I don't ever even try taking that bolt out to make a plate for this, because I don't think I've ever gotten one of those out without it breaking. I guess if you torched it red, it would come out. But it's easier just to cut the tube off. I just hammered a bolt in there, and I'm just going to weld that up, and that'll seal that up. I think I'm going to use exhaust manifolds on this build. They just fit so nicely. I mean, they really do. The headers, maybe they look a little cooler, a little more zoomy, but the driver's side will not fit without modifications. And I really don't think there's any horsepower gain at this level, especially just shorties. They're not long tubes. But they're not as pretty, but they work. And that is important. So the other thing I'm going to be doing then with the manifold is same thing. You have this air injection tube here. All I'm going to do is cut this tube right off flush and weld this shut and weld it closed. It's not the most beautiful thing again in the world, but 100% functional. And you'll never have to worry about anything going wrong with them. Put them in and go. All right, so I'm going to get the welder up, fired up. I'm wearing my set myself on fire clothes, and I'm going to weld this up, cut this off, and weld that up. All right, manifolds are welded up. This is the passenger side. Welded up the tube there. Welded up the air injection tube there, and on the driver's side, welded up the air injection tube there. Now the other side of the EGR, that corrugated metal tube that ran up to the intake manifold, same deal. I just cut it off there and put a bolt in the hole of the plate that was used to be on the tube and just welded it up and a little RTV and bolted it on. So I have a free EGR block off. Now the other part of that is where the EGR valve went. All right, here's the other side of the low buck EGR block off. This is actually the body of the EGR valve. I just cut the head off, this guy here, and welded up the hole. Done. And there was a piece of tube in there that was rattling around, so I just welded it quick so it wouldn't be knocking around in there. I don't know if it would have done anything, but just to make sure. So we'll put some RTV on that. And this is plenty stout. We'll just bolt that right up. And there's our EGR block off complete. All right, manifolds are bolted on with some used gaskets for now, because we just want to start this engine and make sure it runs. But you can see just how nice the manifolds fit. All I got to do is rotate that drop right there, and I can run the exhaust right out the back. Clearance is just everywhere. I mean, look, spark plugs, everything. And the passenger side, look at this. Tons of room everywhere. The up and overs really work nice. Ton of room for the AC compressor, spark plugs, wires. Don't have to worry about anything getting burned. It's all going to be good. And I found another EGR tube. This is what it looks like. This used to go from the back of the manifold up to the intake. And this is the plate right here that I cut off and just weld closed. And that's my EGR block off for that. That's there. And there's my other EGR valve body that's welded up, and that took care of that. So moving forward here, I think the next step is going to be put an oil pressure gauge on this thing and turn it over and make sure it has oil pressure, or can build oil pressure, after sitting for 17 years. All right, oil pressure gauge hooked up, tied in the back's normal small block Chevy place. Same old gauge we've been using on all the test engines. So, what's left? Dig up some battery cables, hook up a battery, and we'll use a remote switch to crank it over. No spark plugs. And see if we can get oil pressure. And hopefully there's no mouse nest in the oil pan. And we'll see what it does. But not today. It'll be right away for you, but I'm done for the day. Come back again on another day and get this thing cranking over. Before I go in, for those of you who have not seen the short with the Studebaker Hawk, here it is. This sat for 30 years, luckily on a cement floor. Before that, in a barn, and all apart. When I saw it, it was on 4 flat tires, sitting there, no nose, no doors, no trunk lid. 30 years worth of dust, interior completely full of stuff, so I couldn't even see inside. When I went and looked at the car, I didn't even know it was a 4-speed until I got all the stuff out of the inside here. And I cleaned it all out, and I set the seats back in where they belong. They're not bolted in, they're just sitting there. But see, somebody put a Hearst on it, because I don't think that's what came with it. At least I don't think so. And check out this old, what is it? RAC tack. This car's been sitting since 72, so that's been there a long time. And I just love the dash on these cars with the turned metal insert. It's just so cool. And the Stuart Warner looking gauges, just a cool car. And look at these old wheels. I don't know if they're Fentons or Raiders or what they are. They're 15s, which is awesome. Because, you know me, I'll build this car just like it is. I'll leave these wheels on it. And I have all the parts. At least I think I have all the parts. I might be missing a couple pieces of trim. I think I'm missing one fender spear I have to try to find. And possibly this piece of trim on the other side, because they took the fin off. Yeah, the fins come off of these cars. It's a rebody from or I say an update of the body that started out, I think, in '53, and they bolted fins on them. But I'm missing, I think, that piece of trim as well. I have to go through everything. There's the other fin in the back of the truck with new floor pans that came with it and a bunch of other pieces, and I just have boxes and boxes of parts. It's just been apart forever. And of course, no hardware. He doesn't know where any of the bolts are, so I've got to find a whole bunch of hardware to put this thing back together. But what a cool car. I will save it. Okay. Next day. Hello. I just got home from work a little while ago. Figured I'd run out here and just try something. So throw on some junk clothes, because the minute I walk out here, I will get dirty. So battery's hooked up. We're going to hook up the old remote here. Okay. Time is short, so let's see what happens here. You want to watch, or am I going to watch? Let's see here. you're going to be just as surprised as me, because I don't know what this is going to do. This is the first time I'm even hitting the starter in 17 years. I don't know if the starter is going to work. All right, everything's clear. Here goes nothing. Nothing. All right, let me check my connections. That's all I got. All right, I think we're back in business. I changed the battery, even though that battery was charged, but whoop. There we go. £40. Sounds good. It's not knocking. Nice. All right. I'm going to keep this battery on charge. And that is one step complete. But that's all I have time for today. So I'll come back another time. All right, it has been some days since I've been out here. I'm going to go back to the microphone. I don't know. I just think that sometimes the sound just isn't that great when I just use the regular phone. So depending on what we're doing, I think you can hear better with the microphone. So haven't been out here in a while. We know the engine turns over, got oil pressure. Next thing to do is to test these fuel injectors. If the injectors work, I think it'll run as long as the wiring harness I made will work. All right, so we're going to remove the rails. Again, this engine hasn't ran since 2008. It's been a while. So I just took the vacuum line off the fuel pressure regulator. 4 bolts here, 8 millimeters. And if the O-rings aren't completely hard as rock, I should be able to pry this up and out of here. But we'll see what happens. Let's see. These are sticky. It's going. All right. Now, I think I'll hit these with a little bit of brake clean, and we'll see how they work or don't work. All right, I took the microphone off because I'm right next to the phone, so I think it'll be fine. I never know when I should use the microphone or not, but I think I'm going to have to start using it more just because I think the sound is not that great sometimes. Okay, now if I can open this. All right. You've seen me do this before if you've watched my videos. I have my portable fuel system hooked to the rails right now. And I have this fuel injection tester that I got off of Amazon that works really nice. And what I'm going to do is connect the pins on the tester to the injector. And then I've got my power connector for this. It's going to have to go down to the battery. See if it'll reach down there, or I may have to move the battery up to the table. I think I'm going to have to do that. Let me move the battery. All right, so got the battery up here. First thing I'm going to do is connect the battery to the fuel pump and pressurize these rails and see if I have any injectors that are just leaking while idle. Hopefully not. And I don't have a whole lot of fuel in my tank here. Hopefully I have enough in there to run this. It does sound like it's going through the rail. Yep, I have returning to the tank. Now I'm going to hook up the power to the fuel injection tester. here. Now this has different modes. And let's see. I don't remember the modes. Mode set. Let's see. Let me look at my thing here for all the different modes. Where are they? Mode, here we go. Mode 1, single post, low power. Mode 2, short post, low power. Mode 3, long post, low power. Mode 4, continuous, low power. Mode 5, single pulse, high power. These high power modes have gotten injectors unstuck for me. Okay, so first I think I'll just try a low power. Let's try mode 1. Okay. I got nothing. So this injector may be stuck. Let's try a different mode. Try mode 3. Nothing. Let's try a high power mode and see if it breaks free. How about mode 8? Nothing. So we may be having 8 stuck injectors here. Let's try another one. Hopefully I got enough fuel in here, but I don't hear the injector clicking. I am getting nothing. Let me check my fuel. Well, it's moving some fuel. I have a feeling these are all going to be stuck. That's not good. But they've been sitting a long time. I got one. Actually, it looks pretty good too. Let's see if we can get lucky here and get some more going. Nothing. Not looking good here. Oh, got that one. All right, well, I've got 3 injectors that are not recovering. So I'm going to remove them, see if I can blow some brake clean through them, if it'll make a difference or not, in case there's any junk in the inlet side, and see if I can get them to work. All right, I think I've got them all broken free. I took the 3 out that were not working and put some brake clean through them. Now you can hear them pulsing. So let's hook the fuel back up and see if we actually have 8 working injectors. All right, here we go. Hopefully the final test. Hook up the fuel pump. Make sure the O-rings aren't leaking that I just removed the injectors on. All right, now this one did not work before. I have them marked. I'll go to mode 8, which is high power. Oh, we got a short or something that's flashing. All right, well, I think the injector tester has died. Something happened with the connector here. If you move it, you lose power, but that's not a big deal. But something may have died in here because this is saying that I have a shorted injector. They're all saying they're all shorted, which is not true. I just ohmed them all out. All the coils are good. They all read about 12.4 ohms, but got no pulse, and said my connector here is dying. So I think it's time to get a new one. But because I felt like the ones that were stuck started working again when I had the brake clean through them, I'm going to put this back on the car and we're going to try to start it anyway. All right. What do you think the chances are this thing's actually going to start? This is totally rigged right now. I found some spark plugs laying around that look like they're the right length and right heat range, and they look better than what was taken out of the engine. So I put those in there, threw the original plug wires back in, had to change my coil to a 95 or earlier style. It's got a different connector for the wire. So since I'm using a 95 harness, I had to switch that. So that is on a 95 coil, I think it's 93 to 95. Obviously, I put the 93, 94 F-body exhaust manifolds on, no mufflers. I made some jumper wires to feed power into the harness. I verified I have power at the PCM pins that I need them at, and I should have my grounds. I have hardly anything hooked up here, and a lot of plugs just laying around. Injectors are connected, map sensor, throttle body has the TPS and the IAC. Obviously the ICM and the coil are connected. For coolant temperature switch, I just have a switch plugged into the connector here, just hanging. Same for intake air temp. I have one just hanging, plugged into the connector. Not that I think it'll matter. Yeah. So it's a total rig. And I'll be really surprised if it actually starts. All right, PCM is connected. That's a rig as well. A tune I made a long time ago, months ago. I don't remember exactly everything I did with it. But I know VATS is off, so hopefully that's enough to start it. I don't remember what else I changed. If this actually works, in the end, I'll have to thin this harness out and I'll post up diagrams of what I changed here. I am not the inventor of this stuff. It's all online as far as how to repin to run the LS1 computer. And if it actually works, I'll post it up so you can copy. But I'm going to have to come back and thin out this harness because I have a whole lot of wires that are not in use and are not going to be in use. The other problem I have is something's going on with the starter. I think this battery is okay. What's this wire? I got so many. Temp gauge. I don't need that. I got issues. The starter is turning the engine over, but it's kicking out, and I don't know why. So I don't know if that's going to be good enough to even start the engine, but we'll give it a shot. I'm going to hook up the fuel pump, hook up power to the PCM, and we're going to see what happens. All right, we're going to try this. I don't know if that starter is going to work or not. That's my only concern right now. Power to the PCM. That's starter. All right, I got a different starter. So we are ready to try again. And I got a MAF sensor I found just in case it doesn't want to run without the MAF. But I think what it'll do Normally a MAF fail, it'll start and shut off and then it will run after that, but I don't know what this is going to do because this is a total hack. So here goes nothing. We'll put up the fuel pump. How do I shut this thing off? Okay, over here. Let's see if it starts. 'It Holy smokes. It worked. I didn't even have the MAF on there. That's the first start. I didn't do anything before that. That's crazy. That thing lit right off. Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. I can't believe it. All right. I didn't think it would be that easy. Holy smokes. All right. Let me see. Let's do that again. Man, it scared the hell out of me when that thing lit. Fifty pounds at idle. I'm going to plug in the MAF sensor and just see if it makes any difference. What we got? MAF, here we go. I don't know if it'll matter because it's not connected to the air intake, so. Man, I cannot believe it. Okay, well, that's proof of concept. I don't know if there's any codes or anything like that yet, but it ran on the LS PCM, no problem. All right, well, I gotta admit, that is a huge relief. This engine, like I said, has been sitting since 2008. So for it to fire off like not even half a crank, that's just unreal. And the injectors, we got those freed up. I did buy, ordered rather, a new fuel injector tester. It's like $15. I'm not even going to mess with that. Something is wrong with that one because it was saying the injectors were shorted. And again, ohmed them out, a little over 12 ohms each. We knew they weren't shorted, but at least it lasted long enough to get them working because they got, what we have, 3 or 4 that were stuck. They're good now. It's hitting all 8 cylinders. Man, I just can't believe how easy that was to fire. That thing started right up. So I'm going to peel all this wiring off of here because I've got to thin this harness down, get rid of some stuff I don't need on it. And I have to figure out what's next. We're moving along here pretty good. The same time I was messing with this wiring, I actually have the whole body harness for that Camaro that this harness came out of, and I started thinning that out, and I may use that to wire the whole car. But that's going to take some time to do, but I may do that as well. But when we come back, man, what's next? The engine runs. One thing I want to say before I end this video, if you're interested in doing this yourself on a factory 96 or 1997 LT1 car, Corvette, or a Z28 or a Trans Am, or I guess be the same on a B body, a 96 Caprice should work. I am putting up 4 pictures at the end of this video. And what those are the 4 connectors on the LT1 computer. Each one, the red, the blue, the black, and the clear one, in order. They're called C1, 2, 3, 4. Now, when you look at that diagram, on the left side of each connector is the wire in the LT1 connector, where it's located. On the right side of the diagram is where to move that wire onto an LS1 connector to use the LS1 computer. So all you have to do is follow that chart if you want to convert to an LS1 computer. Of course, you have to have the LS PCM, and the go-to tune for starting off with that is 2001 Express Fan. It's what it is an Express Fan. You could use, I think, a 2001 or 2002. The Express Fan had the LS computer, but still had a Vortec 350 in it. So that tune is more aligned to the LT1 as far as firing order and such. Now, from what I remember, when I built this tune, the injector size was different, and there may have been some other little things, but nothing major. The main thing is that tune will work as is. You'll still have to do some tuning afterwards to get it perfect, but it will start and run the engine as is. You still have to turn VATs off, of course, but it will work. So with that tune and your LT1 car, you can convert to an LS1 computer. But for it to be plug and play, of course, you've got to have a 96 or 97 because you need that 4X crank trigger, and that's only on 96, 97. You can buy those items off somebody scrapping a motor or something and put them on an earlier LT1, and then you can do it as just the same as this. I think the next thing we'll do, there's only a couple things left to do before we got to get the body off the frame and start finishing welding everything and seam sealing and get this thing ready to assemble for good. But we have to make rear body mounts. I think that may be the next step. I'll think about it. I got to figure it out. I got a million things going on at once here. But I'll get the wiring off first and we'll go from there. So that was great. Cool. I'm really happy with that. I still can't believe it, but all right. Well, hey, that's great. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for following this ridiculous project. We got a motor, we got a trans, so now it's definitely sticking with the LT1. Gonna be fun. All right. And again, thank you so much for subscribing. We'll see you on the next one. Later.